In this video, I'm going to show you how I take mustard from a big container like this, pop it into jars like these and can it, and I'll tell you why I do that exactly. Cheers. G'day everybody and welcome to my Aussie gardening kitchen. If it's your first time here, my name's Darren, but please call me Daz. And as you can see here, I've got this jar of French mustard, and what we'd like to do is look out for it on special. Generally, I can get it on special on the rare occasion at Amazon with free shipping. And then what I'll do is take it to these jars, transfer it using a good old piping bag like this, and then get it into the canner. I'll can it, and then I can store this away. And for us, it works out a lot cheaper than buying the small jars from the supermarkets. We're in country Victoria, Australia, and this French mustard is actually out of stock a lot of times on the shelves in the local supermarkets. So for us, it's great to be able to have it just on hand whenever we need it. Now, unfortunately, I'm using some dodgy memory cards at the moment. I can't afford to get some really good ones, and I've lost some footage. So I can't show you the process where I fill the jars. But what I do is basically open up the container, pop it into a good piping bag. Now, I prefer to have a nice material piping bag. They're nice and tough, they last long, they wash really well. And if you're interested in grabbing one of these, I'll pop a link down in the description to some really cool ones on Amazon. So what I'll do is fill this up and I'll just squeeze it, pipe it into the jars. And what I'll do is actually put the tip of the piping bag without a nozzle to the bottom of the jar in the middle and squeeze and just slowly fill all the way, almost to the top, leaving just a little bit of headroom. Then what I'll do is I'll get something like a chopstick. I'll push it down into the jar and just give it a mix and move it around and just try and release some of those air pockets. Then the next step for me is to clean down the tops of the jars. Now I'll get some vinegar on some paper towel and I'll just gently wipe down around the inside of the lid, especially around the tops. You really want to make sure the tops of those jars are absolutely clean. The vinegar does a great job of that. Then once you put the lid on, that little rubber seal inside the lid is going to have a really nice clean fit on top of the jar, and that's going to increase your chances of having a beautiful seal. Once the seal's on, I'll pop the rings on and I'll turn the rings and I'll just give them a quick tighten to finger tightness. You're not trying to wrench them on and force them on. You just want them to be finger tightness, just finger tightness, that's all. The next step is to gently place my jars into a pot of warm water. Now in this case, I've got a plate in the bottom of my container, just so the jars can sit on top of the plate and not directly touch the bottom of the pot with that direct heat. Now I do apologize for the murky looking water. I actually had mustard on my hands with the plate, and that's bits of mustard you can see floating around in the water. So I do apologize. It does not look the best, but trust me, it's perfectly fine. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It really does help my channel. All those thumbs up will tell YouTube that people are watching, and hopefully they'll share this video out to other people, and it's going to help my channel grow. Thanks. Now, I'm not going to start my timer until that water comes to a nice rolling boil. Once it starts boiling gently, I'll start my timer, and I like to give mine 15 minutes. Now, the reason for 15 minutes is for me just to ensure that the heat's come right up to all of the contents inside the jar and they've really had a good time in that boiling water. Now, once that 15 minutes is up, what I do is I'll take them out and I'll pop them onto a towel on a bench. Now, I've got a Caesar stone bench, which is a cold stone to touch. Now, I don't want shock from the cold stone and those boiling hot jars cracking the glass. Now, the towel comes in handy to protect the jars from that shock. And it's also very handy because the jars are wet and it's going to catch some of that water. Now, speaking of the water, don't be tempted to turn the jars over and pour the water off the top of them. Just leave it, they'll be fine. You don't want to be turning the jars and doing anything that could compromise that seal that's forming on the lids. So just take them out, gently put them onto the bench and just let them sit for 24 hours. Now, hopefully you will hear a ping, a little pop or a little ping. And what happens there is the tops of the jars are being sucked in by the vacuum inside caused by all that heat, and you should get a beautiful seal on the jars. Now, 24 hours later, here I am back in the kitchen, and as you can see, all the jars are done. They're cold to touch, so I'll just move some of this stuff out of the way. Now, I always recommend taking off the rings. For me, rings must come off. The reason for that is when you take the ring off, you can see that your lid has a nice seal. If I left the ring on, I've got no idea whether this lid is actually vacuum sealed. Once I take that ring off, I know for sure that lid is vacuum sealed. And then when I store it, I can look at this every now and then and just check them, which I do. I do recommend that you go and check your stored stuff on a regular basis and just have a look at the lids and just make sure that they haven't come loose. Unfortunately, people that leave rings on, that's going to be a lot harder to see because you've got that ring holding that lid down. So please, it's up to you, but I do recommend removing the rings. Okay, so the next step is I've taken off the rings and I've checked and the lid's fine. Now I like to get a clean cloth and just give it a clean, give it a wipe over. And I like to get into the grooves here of the jar, just getting rid of any residue because you really don't want bacteria and bad things growing on your jars. So just give them a wipe down. This one's looking pretty good. And then that's ready to go. As you can see, it's sealed, it's not falling out, the mustard's not going anywhere, and you can't go wrong. So there you go, that's one down. So then my next step is to basically go through the rest of them, like the small ones here. Remove the rings. Again, check the seal. That's a good seal, no worries. Give it a clean. Now, if the seal does come loose, don't throw this out. Pop it into the fridge and just make sure you use this first. But hopefully these will be good to go. And I'll take these now, and once they're all cleaned and the rings are off, I'll store these in a nice dark place with my other food storage, and these should last quite a long time. So there you go. That's how I can my mustard and why I can my mustard. Now, 2 videos are about to pop up onto the screen. I'd appreciate it if you go check them out. Plenty of other good cooking content on my channel. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.